In today's episode, I am joined by the founder of RocketBox, and I had actually never heard of them until he reached out to be on the show, and I was blown away with what he and his team have been building. They really are taking a different approach to third-party delivery and the way that it integrates back with the core systems of point of sale. He really dug in and lived in the trenches in a bunch of different restaurants to try and understand what it was going to take to make this process better for the operators, and he's really looking to expand his reach in North America. He's got some really innovative ways that take a different approach than what most have. If you don't know me, my name is Jeremey Julian. I am the Chief Revenue Officer for CBS North Star. We sell the North Star point of sale product for multi-units. Please check us out at cbsnorthstar.com. And now, on to the episode. Welcome back to the Restaurant Technology Guys podcast. I thank everyone out there for joining us. As I say each and every time, I appreciate you guys spending time with us each week where I get to talk to some tech founders and some people that are doing some really cool stuff. And today is no exception. Ross, I'd love for you to share a little bit about your background, who Ross is prior to jumping into your latest project, because I am quite excited to hear about what you guys have been building most lately. But I also know that this isn't your first foray into tech or into any of these kind of things. So why don't you give everybody a little bit of background on who you are?
Yeah, I guess it started off when I was about 14 years old. My dad opened his first pizzeria. I initially started off delivering some leaflets door to door. After myself and my brother finished, we got to go back behind the scenes of the kitchen. We get our pizza, and I got to see the chefs work their magic. I think after about 3 weeks, I bothered my dad enough that he agreed to let me get into the kitchen, and I started off on bases, got onto toppings, work in the oven. By the time I was 18 years old, I was running the show. And then we expanded into multi-location. So we went to 4 stores, then started to franchise, got up to 18 stores, got up to 43 stores. And yeah, basically while I was studying my business degree, we were opening up franchises left, right, and center, got up to 43 locations. And then essentially my dad sold the business to Yum and he got out of the restaurant game. And that's when I got involved in restaurant technology. So I guess it was started off by reselling US technology for online ordering, ran into some kind of consistent problems with the tech. It made the tough decision to go out, find my own team, and to build our own product essentially. So we did that about 8 years ago, launched menu.com, which is white label online ordering, and been doing that for a number of years up until the point where I came across another problem, which is that there is no synchronization in the kitchen between the preparation of orders and delivery drivers. And I'm still in the restaurant business, and I found a problem that needed a solution and decided I was going to build some technology using the experience that I've gained over the years, both in the restaurant game and also on the technology side of things. So I think it's a great match, and we've done a great job so far in bringing a great product together.
Yeah, no, and I'm excited. And my favorite episodes are those that people are scratching an itch that they had, or that there's a problem that they saw out in the space. And so, your latest project, for those that are on video, you can see it on your jacket. But RocketBox, why don't you talk us through a little bit about what RocketBox is before we dig into kind of how did you get to that place? Because
Yeah.
it is definitely an interesting origin story as to how you've continued to see this problem and then
Yeah.
work to solve it.
I guess it started off when I'm standing in one of my own kitchens and I'm looking at a fleet of delivery drivers that are waiting for orders to be prepared. Then I look at the kitchen and I see right beside the oven, there's a bunch of orders prepared. But for some reason, none of those orders are for the drivers that are waiting. And the drivers are waiting for the orders that are over on the other side. And I'm looking at them going, they haven't made the orders yet. Okay, what if the orders were changed around in the kitchen so that driver was able to come in, pick up their food, and leave? So what I started to do was I started to do it manually. So I was walking around with these machines in my hand, and I had tickets in the restaurant. And I would literally, when there was a status update, I would just move the stuff around. And I noticed that the efficiency of the restaurant and the stress levels of the restaurant just went down. So then what we did was okay, we went one step farther. We built the prototype. We put it into the restaurant. We tested the daylights out of it. And yeah, basically ended up building a great product that I guess it was time to start to share with the world. The idea of it is that as orders come in, We are monitoring the contents of the orders. We're monitoring the sources of the orders, so all the different channels. In some cases, there can be manual rules set by the restaurant for pickups or delivery orders or dine-in orders, that sort of thing. We monitor all of the orders with the delivery channels. So we know what driver's been assigned, how many orders he's due to take up, what's his ETA. Oh, he's been taken off the order. Another driver's been put on. What's his ETA? And essentially, in the simplest form, the chef is just looking at a KDS like he normally would. And he's just told what order to make and when. He's told not to make orders, and he's told, okay, now you can make these orders. Future orders come in, they can look at them, they can get them out of their view, and then they'll automatically pop back into the screen at the right time when they're supposed to be made. Yeah, I guess in its simplicity, it's about monitoring all of the different sources of the orders and then making sure that the right order is made at the right time.
Yeah, no, and I love that you guys are working this, Ross, because I think your example of walking around and seeing a bunch of delivery drivers and seeing a bunch of orders that aren't completed, but a bunch of orders that are completed without delivery drivers for them is huge. Before I get too far ahead of myself, those that are listening and or watching probably hear the accent. And then your first reference is Deliveroo. And up until a couple of months ago, probably in the States, nobody knew what Deliveroo was. But why don't you just break down a little bit about where you've been building this as you're coming stateside?
Yeah, we are based in Dogpatch Labs, which is in Dublin city centre. You can see me, my background is not fake. This is one of the vault areas of the old building. I think it was an old warehouse where they used to store alcohol once it got shipped off the ship. So we're in the very heart of Dublin city centre right now. Although we're a Dublin-based tech company, our focus is primarily on the US market.
I love it because, again, up until the DoorDash Deliveroo merger, I didn't even know what Deliveroo was. And I'm like, oh, that's, and again, some of our US based listeners that might have missed that press release might not even have known that. And so wanted to just make sure I catch people up that that's kind of where you guys have started and where the accent came from. But really, you guys are solving that problem. Dig in a little bit deeper, Ross, to the problem, because why is it that there's such a divide between the third party delivery service providers and the kitchen automation? You talked about the problem that you saw and then you started to solve manually, but walk me through why aren't those things connected and why is it so hard to manage timing and really even prioritization of the orders that are coming and going from the kitchen? Because I think it's a huge problem. And I would say in the top three, when I talk to our own clients about understanding how do I inform the guests, how do I inform the delivery drivers of these things, staffing is a problem and making sure that they're doing this, but order accuracy. And then this would be one of the top three problems when I'm talking to restaurant executives that they bring up is being able to inform my guests and really the delivery drivers on what's going on
Yeah.
is a huge piece. Why do you think that's the case?
If you think about it, traditional systems are really dealing with orders in a first come, first served basis, FIFO. Okay. So in and out. Now, that doesn't really work in an environment where delivery drivers are essentially arriving and collecting orders out of sequence. Then you have the different channels, whether it's DoorDash, Grubhub, whoever. They all have their own individual applications, but no one's really brought it together from a kitchen sense. You have companies like Olo and Deliverect bringing the orders into the POS, but once they get into the POS, you've got a traditional POS KDS that doesn't necessarily have all of this additional functionality in terms of prioritization. What's the alternative then? So you've got all of these orders that are lying there either in virtual or physical tickets. And one of the only ways to actually manage this process is literally by grabbing the tablets and staring at them. And as orders are updated, then to change your making order. But that's very difficult. We're hiring chefs, not logistical managers. What we're looking for is a tool to be able to pull all of this information together. Give me all of my orders in one place. Now, tell me when to make each one of them so that they're all on time. The busier we get, we need a system to be able to help with the thinking process. If you think about how long it takes to train a staff member up, and what happens if
Yeah.
you lose staff members, now you've got to hire a new logistics manager to organize these orders. So yeah, I think in reality, the current systems that are out there are just not built for delivery. And I guess
Mm,
that comes right back to where I came from, which is the pizza delivery business. So
yeah.
I've always thought and relate back to that kind of operation and seeing how can we make things a little easier for the chefs. At the end of the day, They don't want to have to move tickets around and trying to work out what order to make next. Oh, let's wait till the driver arrives and then make it. Now we're creating delays. Those delays are passed on to the customer. That driver.
Well, besides the fact that some of these delivery service providers will charge you more if you're making their delivery drivers sit and wait.
Correct.
At least in the stateside, I don't know how it is in Ireland, but I know for sure here in the States, if they have to wait too long, sometimes they'll just abandon altogether, and sometimes they'll have to. Sometimes they end up charging the restaurant back if they're delayed too often.
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of drawbacks to that. The first of all is that the driver can just drop the order, and then now the platform has to go and find you another driver when you just had one. And then if you then go, okay, now I might be, if you constantly do that, you're not necessarily going to be prioritized by the platform because of these constant delays. I think the stores are the businesses that have solid operations are the ones that will be prioritized drivers ahead of those who aren't, because they know that if they send orders to your business, that it's going to be ready, there's going to be minimal amount of wait time, and then they can keep their drivers running and running. They're all dealing with their own challenges, and they need their drivers to be as productive as possible within that hour, that he's working. It'll kill them if drivers can only do 2 deliveries an hour because the restaurants don't have their act together operationally.
Yep. And Ross, talk me through how you guys are managing in-store orders, because that in pizza delivery, large percentage of pizzas are delivered in certain types of environments.
Yeah.
But in a casual dining environment, you've got different channels. You've got walk-ins.
Yeah.
You've got phone orders. You've got delivery orders. You've got in-person orders in the dining room.
Yeah.
Managing all of that takes a degree in physics and lots of different logarithms that have to manage that, because you want to make sure that you take care of your guests in-house.
True.
As well as the walk-ins, as well as your third party.
You know what? That's not the most complicated part. Okay. Orders, they're just order sources at the end of the day. Okay. The complicated part is having a flexible enough solution out there that's going to fit into certain types of business models and their flows. Do they need service-based routing of orders? Deliveries go over here, dine-ins go over there. Do they need station routing where grill, pizza, drinks, all that sort of stuff needs to get split up? I find that the complexities are actually in splitting everything up across a business and then bringing it back together again. But the trick being that preparation is synchronized in a way that everything can be ready at the same time. So if you've got a steak that takes 20 minutes and then you've got French fries that takes 2.5, based on how busy that station is, the system will then determine when it should be fired. The ETA of the order is what's most important. So if you set rules like I want first courses to be served within 15 minutes, I want second courses to be served within 30 minutes, you program those rules in and all of the orders go into the system, and it will basically still fire the orders at the right times, the right products to the right stations, and make sure that the orders are made on time as much as possible. Obviously, with high volume, there could be delays, but the system is supposed to anticipate this and prioritize it as best as possible.
Yeah. And the other thing that I like to talk to people about, and I know that this doesn't often get thought about, is menu mix.
Yes.
When I talk to certain brands, they're really heavy in salads. Salads take less time than steaks, right? They just do. There's nothing you can say that salads take less time than steaks. And so if you're heavy salads, your pantry station is going to be working.
Correct.
I'm turning orders faster, but if I'm a steak heavy brand and my grill might be a lot heavier, does that go into effect as far as whatever your channels are, like you said?
Yeah, I think, look, every single order has an ETA, whether it's by product or by the whole order by itself. In the case of delivery, everything must be ready by a specific time. In the case of dine-in, you break that down into multiple ETAs, and and again, some of these rules are purely based on what the restaurant configures in the control panel. So they set the rules, and then the system will operate using AI in order to make sure that the right order is made at the right time.
I love it. We're 15 minutes in and we finally hit the word AI.
Yes.
There's been no shows in 2025 that have gone on without having AI at least mentioned in the first 30 minutes of the show. So thank you for that. Yeah. You're keeping my streak alive, Ross. Talk me through so we've defined the problem. We know that it's a huge issue. We know that it's got to be in the top 2 or 3 issues for all brands, is ensuring that they are by channel, not only delivering food that's hot and fresh, but communicating that back out to whether it's the DSPs or any of those kind of things, and even their staff. and figuring out how do we manage it, because that's the other thing I'd love to talk through. But why don't we leap over to now? We know what the problem is. How is RocketBox uniquely solving this challenge? What are you guys tackling first, and where are you guys at on this journey of really trying to solve these things?
That's a good question. It's quite interesting because a lot of the feedback that we're getting is from operators of all sizes, where we have had the fortune of meeting a lot of great operators who are donating the time to answering all of our annoying questions. What we're doing is really going in there and going, okay, so you might be using POS's KDS. And it's like, all right, and a lot of the times it doesn't take too much pressing to find out what does this KDS not do that you'd like it to do. You ask 10 people and all of a sudden the same things start popping up. So in reality, our niche is that we're focusing on some of the more complex scenarios that a standard KDS doesn't do. So that's really where we've tried to focus our time on, and really trying to understand the needs of the business, to understand why they think they need it. Is it the best option? And really what we've done is I'll give you one example. We were at the Food on Demand show in Vegas, and we met with about 25 different operators. We have stayed in touch with many of those operators. They've been great with meeting with us, talking through functionality. But I would say that from that one show and the operators that we met, we've already started to release functionality that is based on feedback from that show. And I expect that actually 100% of the feedback that we got and that we decided to move ahead with is going to be built probably within the next 4 weeks and released. It's
That's
all
awesome.
about the operators. It's all about the operators and what they need. So I'm not going to tell them what we do. It's going to be, what do you need? Tell me why. Let's talk through it, understand it. Because at the end of the day, like I said, you've got all the different channels. That's fine. You take them in. And then we've got to find out a way to prioritize them. Great. But then we need to fit that into your kitchen. And you've multiple kitchens. You want order throttling between the kitchens. You want delivery orders going over to kitchen B when it's opened. You want a way to be able to open and close kitchen B. And when you do that, when you close it, all orders get rerouted automatically to A. This is all the stuff that we're building with the operators. So it's
funny. I was having dinner with one of the former operators from Chipotle, and they'd had the whole kitchen A, kitchen B at Chipotle before they got mass adoption of stores, where there's a store on feels like every other corner here in the States.
Yeah.
They were at a place where they were so busy with digital orders, even going back to faxing. He said they would do exactly that, but then on a slow Tuesday afternoon at 3:00, you don't need both kitchens, so everything goes to the front line. But I love that idea that says how do you smart route those things based on those kitchens? Are you guys even doing it inner chain, where at certain chains they're more efficient in certain areas because of layout or product mix or any of those kind of things, or is it overlaid? Not judging as much as just trying to understand how deep you guys are going to help operators get to that place.
I would say going super deep. Yeah. Like I did with Menu, I built an extremely flexible platform that, met the needs of our customers. Obviously, development priorities are based on how many customers are going to need a particular function, but then you have the bigger customers that have specific requirements, and you have to go there too. We're very much a customer-driven development pipeline. So the more customers...
Just to confirm...
Yeah.
Sorry, go for it.
You go ahead.
I was going to say, just to confirm, so are you guys going into existing implementations and replacing their KDS?
Yes.
Just walk me through that, because you talked a lot about the data and evaluating the data, but I'm assuming it's also the screens that the chef is seeing on what to prepare when, and all of the data that's above it to make better business decisions. Is that fair?
Yes, it is. Yeah. Basically, it depends, because in some cases they are totally doing a rip and replace, and they're putting in a new POS, and we're coming in as part of that new package. In other ways, they're currently using a POS. They're using the KDS, but they were unhappy with the functionality. We're working with that KDS partner in order to basically retrofit our solution into their existing operation. So we're POS agnostic. We don't really mind which POS you use. And that's the way we'd like to try and keep things. And we see ourselves as a complement to the POS. If your POS if your KDS doesn't have all of the functionality that your customer needs, at least you have the ability to bring someone like us in that will be able to fill that gap.
Love that. I'm going to flip back over to pizza, because I was just at multi-unit restaurant tech show earlier this year, and I got to hear the guy that was on the Domino's pizza tracker, project.
Yeah.
And he talked about that. And as a guest, I know that's a big thing that people are looking to get to.
Yeah.
Talk me through where RocketBox is on that journey. You've got the operators, you've been working really tightly with the operators, but
Yeah.
now it comes down to the guests. The guests want to know.
Yeah.
Amazon tells me that the package is 9 stops away, and then it's 8 stops away, and then it's 7 stops away. And I think in general, in food service, a lot of people are wanting to get to that place. And I think Domino's has set the standard in that regard. Help me understand how RocketBox is, where they're at on that journey.
I guess we log absolutely everything from the second that an order comes into the restaurant, even way past the handover to the driver. We continue to track until that order has been delivered.
Oh,
So
wow.
every single touch point along the way is recorded by the system, so that we can then take that data, use it for that person's next order. We know if someone got a late order. Ideally, we'd like to know if they complained later so we can try and do some service recovery. There's a lot of opportunity with having this information at your disposal. But yeah, I think the main thing is that we capture everything, and it was intentional from day one that we wanted to be able to capture all of the data and then ultimately figure out how does it need to be used. Do we need to send an SMS message to the customer to let them know their order's ready for pickup? We already tell the platforms, hey, the order's ready for your driver to collect and that sort of thing. I think that there is going to be an evolution. And I guess also from our side, it's how much of it do we do versus how much of it do we hand over to the individual platforms to handle themselves. We work with the third-party delivery. We also work with first-party online ordering companies. And then you've got the POS itself. I think
Yeah,
that I
it's
think
a lot
as
of work that you guys put into to building that ecosystem, huh?
yeah, exactly. Look, it is. And I guess you could say that the last 8 years of building another platform certainly gets you all of the knowledge that you need in order to do something like Rockbox, but do it really well. I think if I didn't have those 25 plus years of pizza delivery under the belt, that it would be a difficult job to do something like this. Because essentially, what I'm doing is jumping into people's kitchens, analyzing their operations, understanding their wants, but also then presenting them with the options that are available, and in some cases then discussing what sort of custom development might be required in order to get them that extra 10% that they're looking for.
Yeah. Two more things on the product side, Ross, because you've talked a lot about what you guys do, and it was in the bio that your team sent over. Multi-language.
Yes.
That blew me away.
Yep.
Because again, dumb American, what's the joke? Talk to me about some, I don't know. I'll tell you the joke. It's somebody said this joke to me. What do you say to somebody that speaks 2 languages, bilingual? What do you say to somebody who speaks 3 languages, trilingual? What do you say to somebody who speaks 1 language, an American? Because in America, we only speak English. And so with that, the fact that you guys have got over 15 languages built into the product blows me away. Help me understand, how would that even come about, and how do you manage that?
So first of all, your restaurant may be in the US, but that doesn't mean that is the English is the first language of the chef who's making the food. Like, there's a few things. So the first thing is we take the language of the country that the restaurant is in. Let's call it English. So everything that prints from the kitchen and stuff like that. So we handle all of the printing side of things as well. That's not done by the POS. All the receipts will be printed in English. However, the screen that's there, you can basically toggle it from French to German to Mandarin to Arabic if you want, all within seconds. And it's really just about making it comfortable for the chefs that are working on, so that you have to recognize that the people who are in these kitchens aren't necessarily first language English. So we needed to make it as flexible as we can. Also, we have built this platform from a global perspective. So if somebody wants this in the UAE, they can have it in Arabic, they can have it in English. If you want to deploy it in the Netherlands, there's your Dutch. So it was important for us. At the end of the day, language is not that difficult to do these days as it used to be. But yeah, we're starting off with 15, but actually we'll be probably adding whether another maybe 10 to 15 languages. We'll stop at around 30, and then we'll add them on a demand basis. If there's a demand for more languages, then we'll add them on. But we thought 15 is a pretty good coverage to start with.
Yeah, it's incredible. And most products that are getting into the space, and again, not that you guys are brand new in the space, but you guys are relatively young, don't start there. So I love that.
Yeah, I think it comes to, look, we're being in Dublin, we're European. We have all of the benefit of traveling to Italy, to Portugal, all these sort of places. And we've respect and awareness that language is a key piece. All of our developers are actually based in Sofia. Yeah, look, we've built it international from day one. I think investors will like that too.
Yeah, no, I love that. Last thing on the product side, Ross, you guys built, so you talked a lot about kind of internal to the store, internal to what goes on operationally. We talked a little bit about the guest journey. Talk to me a little bit about the above store reporting, master agent level, for lack of a better term, content management and reporting above store. Because being able to see that from a corporate level or even from wherever I am in the world is a critical piece to whether you talk about guest recovery
Yeah.
or operational efficiencies or any of those kind of things. So
Yeah.
I'd love to have you talk a little bit about what you guys built there as well.
Yeah, there's a lot we can do with it. I think what we have at the moment is, I would say, is fairly basic in terms of the dashboard reporting. We have individual order reporting, location reporting, brand reporting. You can even technically have multiple brands if you have multiple brands under your umbrella, all of that. There, we also have an API, so you'd be able to pull all of the data into your own business intelligence platform too. In terms of we're very much focused on the operational side of things at the moment, but the reporting side of things is an area that I'm quite interested in getting into, but I would say we need more data to be able to really focus on that as the next steps. But in the meantime, the API helps businesses to connect to their existing platforms and take the data that they want.
And I could see it also as a guest recovery tool. It's having a dial in, log into Deliverect, to log into any of these systems to go figure out these things.
Yeah.
It's extra work. So now being able to see that from a high level
Yeah.
and be able to manage it is really helpful.
It's going to be very helpful if you have some sort of a dispute that you be able to just, hey, which system do I log into? Hey, let's go into RocketBox. Let's look at that particular order. I see the order coming in. I see it on the prep station. I see it was bumped here. I see it when it went into the oven. I see what time it got picked up by the driver, dropped off by the driver.
Yeah, no, I could see that being a
And,
huge
and
operational,
in
even going back
theory,
to operations.
in theory, the more restaurants that also use RocketBox, the better, because then we'll actually have more information about all the orders that run through the platform, not just from that particular brand or restaurant. When we're talking about our kind of logistical side, if we have let's call it an area where all 100 restaurants are using RocketBox, now we are able to orchestrate scenarios where we are operationally making restaurant A and restaurant B's orders synchronize in terms of, okay, there's a distance between this of 3 minutes, make this order 3 minutes, now fire that order so that it can be ready in the second restaurant. There's a lot that can be done with this in terms of a network effect. And the more restaurants that use RocketBox, the more information it has at hand to be able to prioritize the orders appropriately.
And I think it's amazing because you guys are one of the first ones that I've seen that kind of started from the external orders to be able to help automate some of the kitchen, whereas most of the systems started in-house, whether that's a POS KDS or any of the KDS solutions that are out there. You guys said, my big challenge is all of these multiple channels. How do I manage them and then backfill and integrate into the POS? So I love that idea.
Yeah, unfortunately, you still can't ignore some of the kind of dining in requests, coursing, and things like that. But yeah, we're doing things from back to front.
It's because, again, most of the solutions out there that you guys are in competing with were created when delivery didn't even really exist other than in a pizza and Chinese restaurant.
Exist.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so Ross, something that's been weighing on my mind since you brought it up earlier, what's been harder, building out a restaurant brand and growing a restaurant brand, or building out a tech brand and continuing to grow it? Think back in your history.
I think you ask me that question again in 25 years. You know what? I still own restaurants and I still have a huge passion for it. And nothing more than a restaurant that just nails the operations on a Friday night. There's a lot of satisfaction that I get out from knowing that a shift ran really smooth. But at the end of the day, I also love building software, love solving problems. I love taking on challenges. When someone says something is difficult from a software perspective, I like to bring it to my team and break it down and come up with some clever ways to do things. Fortunately, the team that I have, we've been working together for over 8 years. And I think that is a huge help that we're able to take all of these problems and really just break them down and get them built.
I love that. And again, you're unique in that regard because you started in restaurants building with your family business and then you still operate restaurants, but now you're on the tech side. And anybody that I know that's traversed those
Which
two,
one do I like?
they're both hard.
They're both hard in their own way. And I would say running the restaurants is harder. It's harder. The intensity of
I,
it.
and the urgency of it. Yeah, no, and I love that answer. So thanks for sharing. How would people learn more? How do people get in touch? What would next steps look like around more if they wanted to, they sat and listened, they're like, we love this. We need to talk. We have the problem that he is solving for.
Yeah, I think the best thing to do would be I head to our website and we've got a link there for getting started. I can post it here if you want. Where do I chat? Here. So there's the link
Should be on the
there.
bottom right hand corner.
Yeah, it's
There you go.
rocketbox.io/get-started. Fill
Okay.
that out. You'll be able to book a time slot with one of the guys, and they'll be able to run through your requirements, see if there's a good fit, and yeah, we can take it from there.
I love it. I know you're coming to the States for a couple of shows coming up later this year. You want to throw out, I know there's one in July, one in August, I don't know exactly, or one in September, I think. What shows will you be here if people
So we'll be at
do?
Retail Now. Retail Now, predominantly looking for some resellers, and then after that we'll be at FS Tech, and then after that we'll be at the Fast Casual Executive Summit. Now, I'm sure there's more that I haven't mentioned, but those are the ones that come to mind right now. But yeah, basically we'll be actively on the scene and making it to as many shows as we can.
Well, Ross, I'm grateful that people like you exist in the world. I truly do love talking to founders that have built a product that solves something that really they saw as a huge piece because they have a different lens by which they solve the problem because they're looking at it and saying, you know what, I see this problem. The fact that you even walked around with the tablets manually to solve this problem early.
They were calling me RocketBox. They were calling me RocketBox because they knew I was building it, but it wasn't live, and I was trying to get familiar with the process and so that I'd be able to spot things that are wrong. So I was standing there with holding 4 or 5 tablets going around, and then I replaced me with a screen.
Yeah, no, and we'll have to put that in the show notes. RocketBox, the inception of RocketBox, but I love that. And again,
that was the real MVP.
Yeah, no, I love that. Thank you for creating the solution. Thanks for coming on and sharing your story.
Yeah.
To our listeners, guys, we know that you guys have got lots of choices, so thanks for hanging out with us. If you haven't already subscribed to the show, please do so on your favorite listening platform and make it a great day.
Thanks.